Well, we're here on a Friday night ahead of a holiday weekend that has a coastal storm. Well, it does, sort of. But we're going to talk about this because this is going to probably turn out to be truly hilarious tonight. So join us in the party on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. How, you ask? Well, do your Amazon shopping by using our referral link, and that's on the that's on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube. Just use the link to get you to Amazon. Do your shopping. Amazon throws us a little bit of coin for sending you there. It's not out of your pocket, it's out of theirs. And it means that we can keep doing these podcasts without commercial interruption. So we appreciate very much those of you who have used the Amazon referral link. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Great weather station to have. It runs off your mobile device. You can get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Easy to install. And the link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board tonight. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast. And it has a very special coupon code, doesn't it, Joe Rayo?
It sure does, Joe Chiaffi. That coupon code is autumn, not fall, but autumn 2025.
And if you use it, what will they get? Kenny Williams.
Yes, you'll get a complete dinner serving set for the Michael C. Fina Company.
Exactly.
No, 10% off. 10%.
10% off is right. Okay, hold on a second, Joe. I was wondering. I have an extra camera. See, so there's two of me and one of you.
There you are.
So actually, I can mask you anytime I'd like, but I choose not to, being a Christian person. I want to just address this right away off the top. First of all, good evening to everybody on the chat board. Those of you who are watching in the background, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe. It's a special weather show podcast because we seldom are on Friday night unless there's a storm involved. So that's why we're here. And I just want to give you a heads up. Tomorrow morning, we'll be on for a short show at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as well as at 7:30. So the morning shows are going to be on the shortish side, maybe half an hour tops. And then we'll do our regular show Sunday night. And of course, we're here. And I know, Ms. Fowler, you were talking with Joe Rayo. He passed along some messages. I just want to let you know regarding YouTube notifications. I do not send those out. That is Google's thing. That's their function. And as I understand it, as big and as amorphous as Google is, they actually don't have the capacity to send out notifications for every single video and live stream and all the rest of it. So what they do is they send them out selectively. Sometimes you'll get notified. Sometimes you will get notified. Sometimes you might get notified that there's a show 3 hours after the show's over. And sometimes you might not get notified to the next day. And sometimes you might not get notified at all. So if the notifications are important for you so that you don't miss the show, let me just lay out a few things. First of all, if you're on Facebook, and Joe and I both, we always post the time and the links to the show every day. I usually post it up around 5:30 p.m., depending on what's going on. So there's that. It's also on Twitter. It's also on LinkedIn. But if you really need to have that notification, like right before the show starts, download my free weather app, the Meteorologist Joe Chiaffi weather app. So go and search for Meteorologist Joe Chiaffi, or just put my name in, Joe Chiaffi, Cioffi. Okay. Download the free app, turn the notifications on, because you can watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast from the app. I send out all those notifications, and all app users get them. Okay. So if that's a problem for you, I would suggest you go and download my free weather app. All right. So I just wanted to put that out there. So anyhow, so we've got this mess, and it really, Joe, has become this amorphous mess as far as trying to figure out how this is all going to play out and where it's going to play out. Okay. So I want to show everybody tonight, and Mr. Rayo, you haven't seen it yet, but I've already warned you.
Well, I
I'm
can't
gonna
see it. I can't see it only because tropical tidbit. You have of course a service that gets it before I do,
right.
but tropical tidbits still has the
Well, it's a good thing
12Z
you didn't
data.
take tidbits and flip the two words.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so you're going to see this on the screen because I already have it. Okay, are you
Right.
ready? Everybody
I'm
ready?
ready. I'm
Okay,
ready.
all right. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen now. First of all, let me get it scrolled back to the beginning, and here we go. So I will switch over. Drum roll. So this is the new European, folks. Now here we are. This is right now. This is at the 6 hour forecast, valid at 8 o'clock tonight. We have the lower pressures down through South Florida and even into the in Florida Straits. There's actually a low that's there. We've got our high that's east of Cape Cod, and you'll notice that there's a little low here sitting up in northern Michigan, northernmost Michigan. So that's that upper trough that's coming down. Okay, and we're going to roll this along. Now, watch what happens here as we go through the day Saturday. This is 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. There's 1,003 low sitting well southeast of Charleston, south of Wilmington. There's some rain along the Carolina coast. The low gets down to a 998. The high rebuilds back into Quebec province.
Uh-oh.
Rain starts to move up the coast. Okay. So here we are, Sunday morning, and you'll notice that there are two lows here. There's one near Wilmington, and there's a secondary low east-northeast. So this is definitely not a tropical system. There is no rain anywhere from the Delmarva Peninsula northeastward up into southern New England. And then as we go through time, the secondary goes out east-northeast. The gradient somewhat tightens. Now we are into 2 a.m. Monday. Nothing. Okay. There's a little bit of light rain Monday morning. The low is out at just about to almost to 70 degrees west. It's like at 38 and 70. Okay. So now it's Monday. And at this point, it's throwing back moisture into southern New England and back over Long Island. Monday night into Tuesday morning, and then it goes to the east and goodbye. And if this winds up verifying, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to get windy, but it's not going to get crazy windy. And as far as rain is concerned, it's going to be minimal, Joe, for everybody. I mean, it went from the European went from giving 5-inch plus amounts for parts of southern and coastal New Jersey to nothing. Nothing. Okay? I mean, I don't know. The 18Z runs of the European lately have been very squirrely, but I can't ignore it because of what happened yesterday when it started to look squirrely on the ensembles. And, well, look at this. I mean, yeah, there'll be some rain, but if you may have to be on Long Island and in southeastern New England to get into any kind of rain that's even remotely meaningful, and then the low pulls away to the southeast and east, and goodbye. So I don't know, Joe. You look at this and you start to really wonder. And I'm just going to go back to do you remember what I said at the beginning of the week? I said that if I had to bet on Monday that everything would wind up getting suppressed to the south and east. And Tuesday I backed away from it because all the models were doing what they were doing. And now if it turns out that that's going to be the case, I'm really going to I'm going to hit myself over the back of the head for not sticking to my guns.
You may remember yesterday with you and Bill Goodman, I said, there are times, not all the time, of course, but there are occasions as we get closer to the event, you hope that all of the models end up on the same page, but there are times when one model will go one way, the other models will go the other way, and it gets so confusing that you don't know which model is correct. This is beginning to look like just that type of scenario. Uh, and I tell you that the 12Z, you just showed the 18Z. The 12Z European was not impressive at all. I mean,
No.
it certainly was not anything like what you just saw for the 18Z. But I mean, I looked at the European from 12Z and I said, "Oh my God!" I mean, like this is nothing. This is a little windy and maybe a little shot of precipitation, but
And that's
it's
it.
nothing. And that was it. Yeah.
Now, I just brought up the 18Z European close up, so you can actually see this. And by the way, the gradient is not that tight. I mean, it'll be breezy. Maybe you get on the coast. Maybe you'll get some gusts into the 30s with this, but you're not going to get 50-mile-an-hour winds with it. Where it may be the one thing that may wind up being an issue, though, is that long east northeast fetch with respect to coastal flooding, particularly from coastal New Jersey southward down into Virginia and eastern North Carolina. But you know, I look at this, I get, at least from the standpoint of forecast, I'm thinking, how is this going to happen? And the one of the big differences here with respect to how this is evolving aloft, you have this diving upper low over Lake Huron. You have that southern trough. Now, earlier this week, that upper low was going almost south southeast into western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. It would lift up the whole southern trough, and the system would come up as one piece, up the coast to coastal New Jersey or the south shore of Long Island. Well, look where the upper low is going. It's going into New York State and Pennsylvania. The trough is all. The trough position is too close to the coast, and I think this is and this is a big flaw of the models. And I think the reason why that's happening is because if you look at what's going on in the West, there's an animal coming into the West Coast, coming down from British Columbia into the West Coast, and there's another animal shortwave that's lifting up through the Dakotas. That's forcing everything to be further to the east, and it makes sense that the models are going in that particular direction.
Yeah, that is apparently the case, and once again, it's a situation where you need to be and that system on the West Coast, is we're getting more data now as that system comes on shore, and so that translates into better data for that system, which eventually translates into a better outlook or a better forecast in terms of path and intensity for the system that's coming over the east. It's like the left bone's connected to the right bone. Everything ultimately connects, and I don't know.
Well, look,
it, I,
the GFS at 18Z, I mean, has a fairly somewhat wrapped up low south of Hatteras. Come tomorrow afternoon with some convective precip around it that lifts northward. It's still trying to say that rain gets in Sunday during the morning hours between 8 a.m. and noon, and kind of pushes up into New England. Most of the heavy rain stays offshore. The actual, it has one low, and it does kind of stretch the isobar a little bit. It's got one low that actually goes inland in northeastern North Carolina, and then it gets ejected out to the east or east northeast come Monday night into early Tuesday. Now, this would suggest to me that if this is correct, okay, you'll get some rain, but it won't be anything extraordinary. Maybe it'll be a little heavier in eastern Long Island and briefly in southeastern New England, but it won't be anything extraordinary. The gradient is tighter, so you'll probably wind up with some gusts in the 40s on the coast. Maybe there'll be the odd gust of 50 in on some beach location. But it's a whole lot different than having a low that's going to go wind up being sitting southeast of Atlantic City. If you remember earlier in the week, we had lows down at 990 sitting just southeast of Atlantic City with a super tight gradient. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, clearly none of the models are doing that. I just find the European this evening. Uh, I mean, if you're looking for a nor'easter, you'd have to be somewhat disappointed. Let's put it that way. Uh, but I'm starting to wonder if this is all going to wind up being much ado about nothing, and if it is, that they're going to hang out. There are people that are going to hang out, be hung out to dry.
Well, I was saying yesterday, and for the last couple of days, I thought that the networks, the TV people locally, I mean, they started using the word nor'easter like 3 or 4 days ago, and I said, oh no, here we go. They're already trying to build this into something monstrous or major or whatever, and you gotta take it easy. You gotta be concerned. When you start forecasting, more than 3 or 4 days out nowadays, and who knows, Joe? I mean, who knows if this is also a function of the lack of data that is, the weather
Well,
balloons that are
and
not going up, as
that, that's
was
a
the case before the new administration took over and Doge came in. I mean, who's to say that a lot of that data might have made this forecast a better one from 2, 3, 4 days ago, and now we're suffering the consequences. Now it might very well be that no one will dare after if this happens another couple of more times. No one's going to dare to make any specific statements about a storm until literally the storm is upon us.
right. And I'm looking at the ensembles. I pulled up the European 18Z ensemble. Okay, where you have a lot of the lows clustered around this low center Sunday morning. South southwest of Cape Hatteras. The gradient here is tightening, but it's not that tight. And the cluster, all the members now are pretty far off, relatively far offshore. Uh, it's more southeast. At the end of the day, it could wind up that the Canadian was right all along. But you know, anyway,
And you don't
all,
forget that last night I pointed out the discrepancies between the operational and the ensembles. The
mhm.
operational models were taking the storm and turning it to the left into the Delmarva and South Jersey coastline. I said, meantime, the ensembles were taking the storm more out to sea, admittedly idling it in neutral gear for a while on Monday, but still more of an offshore coastal system as opposed to the operation. I'm saying to myself, so where do we go with this? I mean, one set of models is taking the storm up the coast and inland, and the other models are taking it out away from the Atlantic seaboard. How do you work with something like that?
you don't. You don't. This is the Canadian model today, which I mean, it brings some rain and the gradient actually does get tight, particularly over Long Island and southeastern New England. It actually brings some big rain into southeastern New England. That's where all the heavy rain winds up going now. Instead of going into New Jersey, it's going into southeastern New England, and the gradient gets tight there as well. And then the low just sort of pivots around. You've got double low. Actually, you got triple lows here. You got a leftover low off of South Carolina, off the North Carolina coast. You got another one low, well southeast of Atlantic City, and another one to the northeast of that, and they just sort of pivot around. And again, the upper air is deceptive. This cutoff is the way this upper air is setting up is too far east. Okay. It needed to be, if I go back, let me just go back. Let's go back to the GFS. Let's go back a couple of days. I mean, let's go back to Tuesday. Okay. Look at this upper air for Tuesday. Upper low in West Virginia and the second low that you see east of the Delmarva Peninsula. So this thing, you see how this upper low earlier this week dove down into Ohio and West Virginia and picked up the whole southern system, the whole thing, and lifted it up. That would have been uh, really problematic from the standpoint of you would be dealing with a pretty strong coastal storm with this. going all the way up into New England. And then it gets ejected out to the east. But as each day passed by, we started to see that northern feature go a little further east, a little further east, and a little further east. And look at what, for the same time frame, Sunday morning. Look at what we have. We have an upper low in upstate New York. The southern feature is getting all stretched out, completely separate. Doesn't lift up and around actually until maybe it's way too late, and then the whole trough just moves out to the east. I would not be shocked if we wind up with most of the area of eastern PA to southern New England winds up with either just a light to moderate event that's no big deal, or even less than that. And Tom Contino says the euro can't be trusted. Yeah, and the euro can't be trusted unless it shows something that you support, in which case then the euro is God. So let's just acknowledge the fact that there is something inherently wrong with this upper air setup, that it's not conducive it's not conducive for a big storm the way it looks right now. I mean, I don't expect it to change. I don't expect it to suddenly show miraculously diving upper low into Ohio, and then the whole southern feature coming up. That's not going to happen. At
And
least I
Miss
don't think.
Balleray, by the way, is echoing what I had just said about 5 or 6 minutes ago. The models are now just getting the balloon data from the West Coast, the deep trough on the West Coast, and that upper level trough is affecting what's going on along the East Coast. And that's exactly what we said several minutes ago, 5, 6 minutes ago, that everything plays out. One system is connected or interconnected to another, and now that we're getting all of that data and we're getting a better handle as to what that West Coast trough is doing, that's going to have an impact on what eventually is going to happen along the Atlantic seaboard. Up until now, or up until the last several days, it was the computer models that were pretty much guessing or trying to guess, with the algorithms that they normally use. They're trying to play out, all right, let's see, let's assume numerically that this trough is here, and what is that going to do downstream to the system in the east. But now we've got good hard data coming in, so don't be surprised if tonight's run, the 0Z run, or tomorrow's 12Z run, shows less of a threat to our area and shows more of a system that's going to be kicked out underneath us, or just gives us a glancing blow, something that, again, the models could not do several days ago because we didn't have that good hard data that's coming now. That system in the west is moving onshore, and there's so many more grid points to data sets to tap into.
Yeah, this is really, it really has evolved much differently, and it's done a lot of this is again happening in the short range. So Rich Rothmansky suggests that if you would, Joe, maybe you could do he wants to see the FGEN to all of this.
Sure, if you give me the
I
give me
will,
the sharing capabilities,
it will be my pleasure to do that. You know that. You are now able to share your little heart out.
okay. First, let me get that up, and we shall certainly show that. And I did look at it, and I'll tell you, it's more stretched out and not as.
Well, you don't have it on the screen.
I haven't gotten it yet. I've
Okay.
taken time here, but all right. So I'm going to use the 12Z data, the primary data, the stuff that I looked at this morning. And hang on for a second because you've gotten smaller.
I've gotten smaller.
Well, the screen, my
Your screen.
share or whatever. Yes, my screen, your screen, everybody's screen. So let's see. It's over here when I enlarged it. So we'll go to 700 here. So this is the GFS, and we're looking at the FGEN, or the omega, the area where the greatest amount of atmospheric energy occurs with a uh, rather dynamic system. And take a look here. Here, this is 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. 2 a.m. Sunday, we have this area down here. This is the FGEN. This is the omega. This is the atmospheric energy that we would look for the most intense precipitation and most potent winds. And already you can see. I mean, you looked at if you've been looking at this for the last few days, the GFS from like 2-3 days ago had a massive and tightly constrained area here, indicating a lot of energy, a lot of that coming northward. And now as we move up here, now here is 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, and you see that there is a rather tightly packed area of contours here. And you say to yourself, okay, here we go. This area, which looks very potent right here, if we move it northward, certainly by 18Z or 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, it'll be right over Long Island, northern New Jersey, New York, and we'll be in it. We'll be getting ready to get hit hard with precipitation and gusty winds. Well, it's not quite yet. 18Z, we still have that area just to the south, but look what's happened. Look what's happening here. Between 12Z and 18Z, all of that activity is now stretching like silly putty, if you will, if I may use that metaphor or analogy, stretching out from south central Jersey, just south of Long Island, and then all the way out into the open waters of the Atlantic. So what do you think is going to happen when we get to 0Z, 8 p.m. on Sunday? Look at that. All of the good stuff is now to the east of us, from Montauk, if you will, and extreme southern New England, Cape Cod, and out to sea. And the tail or trail end of this is now just getting into New York, Long Island, and parts of north central New Jersey. Now here I am. I'm in the lower Hudson Valley. I still haven't gotten any FGEN yet. I still have not gotten any significant atmospheric energy. So where does that leave me in terms of wind and precipitation? And then when we move to 2 a.m. on Monday morning, look at that. Look at that. There's one area that has maybe broken off and is over in the area around Elmira, if you will, or Horseheads, New York. There's nothing here, and all of the stuff, all the good stuff is now to the north, well to the north and east, out across parts of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Cape Cod, and out to sea. So what happened? Whereas a few days ago they had all of this literally coming up and in and through our area, now all of a sudden it is just broken apart into two pieces, one small piece here and the main area, the main piece stretching out well to the east and north of the tri-state area. So that's what the GFS, if you want to go beyond that, let's go to 8 a.m. on Monday, and all of that stuff is now offshore and is now apparently south of Nova Scotia. So that was what the GFS did. Now, if we go to the European, and this has made me do a double take today when I saw the European, because it shows even less than that. Will show, and if you think the 18Z was something, the 12Z was pretty interesting too. So we go here, we'll move things along. Here we go. This is now 7 a.m. 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Here's all of your FGEN, your atmospheric energy, still well to the south of Long Island, New York, and northern New Jersey. And now we move it up even more. Let's go to 2 p.m. on Sunday. Now we go to 8 p.m. on Sunday. And you look at this and you say to yourself, what the heck? It doesn't even come close to New York, Long Island, New Jersey, the lower Hudson Valley, even southern New England. It's way out here, out over the ocean. And you say it's going to miss us. It's going to miss us completely. Well, maybe not necessarily, because here is 7 a.m. on, or I keep thinking standard time instead of daylight time. I can't wait till we go back on standard time. 8 a.m. on Monday morning. And now it looks like it looks like it's twisting back or retrogressing back to the west.
Right. Well, that's
And
that. That's the second coastal low that goes further around than just arches. It arches back for a short period of time, reacting to the upper low to the west, and then it just is just going to, do a full circle and then drop southward.
it looks like for a moment it's like, hey, over Rhode Island, eastern Long Island, uh, heading to the west, and here it is now into central sections of Connecticut and Long Island as of this is 8 p.m. on Monday. But then look what happens between 8 p.m. on Monday and 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday 8 a.m. It just completely just
Yeah,
falls apart.
the low's
So,
weakening. Yeah, it's hilarious.
and there you go.
And by the way, I'm just going to switch back over here because I pulled up. This is the 18Z European again, and there are three periods here where we're talking about winds that are remotely relevant. Okay, so first of all, inland winds are not even going to be a problem if this is. I mean, we're talking of gusts maybe in the high 20s. Big deal. Okay, so at 8 a.m. we're seeing some gusts to 35 to 40 miles an hour along the coast of New Jersey. It's about 25 to 30 over Long Island. 2 p.m., 43 at Long Branch, gust to 40 at Toms River, some gusts to the mid 30s, Wilmington, Philadelphia, uh, Trenton, New York City gusting to 32, 33. And remember, folks, the European on these wind maps, oftentimes these numbers need to be reduced by about 10 or 15%, but let's just take these at face value. At 8 p.m., okay, yeah, it's windy, breezy to windy, gusts into the 30s, some 40 mile an hour wind gusts along the New Jersey shore, and then by 2 a.m. Monday, most places are gusting under 40 and under 30. Here we go during the day on Monday. Some stronger winds over eastern Long Island and southeastern New England. Barnstable getting up to 56 miles an hour. But everybody, this is not like yesterday when we were looking at some of the European model outputs from this showing, wind gusts up into the 60s and 70-mile-an-hour winds just offshore. Well, those 70-mile-an-hour winds are now, 150 miles out or more out. So a big, big difference. And if we want to take a look at total precip, this ought to be a gem. Total precip from the European. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So right now, the map I have up here, Joe, is through 2 p.m. Monday. Okay. 2/10 at Toms River, 1/10 at Long Branch. Everybody, everybody else, it's like a trace. 1/10 at Philadelphia, 1/10 at Trenton. Okay. Now I'll roll it up to Monday night into Tuesday morning. Oh, and look at that. A whopping. All right. Now again, Eastern Long Island, you start to get, the eastern half of Long Island gets an inch to an inch and a half. 8/10 at Brentwood, 3/10 at New York City, a quarter to a half inch along the New Jersey shore. And remember, though, folks, this was the model yesterday that had 5 to 6 inch amounts for along coastal and southern New Jersey. I mean, this is how. Look, at this stage of the game, if this were going to be a real threat, you want to see the models going in the other direction, where you start low and start going higher, higher, higher. All we've been seeing for the last 2 days is starting high and going lower, lower, lower. I'm going to say it. I mean, I'm leaning to the idea that this is going to turn out to be no big deal, except for the fact that the tidal flooding is a different issue because of the long fetch and the long period of onshore winds that they're going to be dealing with. But so that might still play out. But uh, as far as all the other potential impacts of wind, you know, okay, yeah, maybe. Um, and as far as rain is concerned, it could be just a big duh, a
Well,
big
when we come on
duh.
tomorrow, and again we're scheduled to come on for a half an hour show at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, we will have at least the new NAM model, and we can take a look at the NAM tonight and see what the NAM is going to generate tomorrow. It'll be the first of the major short term runs. If we see the NAM, kind of trending in this type of direction, even before the GFS is available, the European, which will be available a few hours later, we'll know by the 11 o'clock tomorrow morning with certainty or surety that this is not going to turn out to be what had been built up, many days prior during the course of this week. And yes, I will tell you right now, those of you who are on the chat board, well, it doesn't look like it's going to be much of anything. You guys still going to be doing a show tomorrow and Sunday. Yes, we will come on tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and we will be on at 11 a.m. on Sunday, and again at 7:35 on Sunday evening. I mean, we'll stick to our guns, and I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? We'll simply go with the flow and tell you what we think based upon the latest information and the latest data.
Tom Contino, I said it earlier in the show in case you missed it, but yeah, if I had stuck to my original idea on Monday about everything getting suppressed to the south, because that's the way things have been happening this late summer and fall. Yeah, I wish I had stuck to my guns, but I'll tell you something. My stomach would have been in complete turmoil Tuesday, Wednesday, into yesterday, trying to hold on to that particular position.
Joe, isn't that how it always in our careers, our 40 plus year careers in this, yours and mine? How many times have we seen the models go over something, let's say 5, 6 days out? Then all of a sudden they take that away and give you a new scenario. And then as we're just about upon the event itself, it's oh, wait a minute. And they go back and we flip back to what it was, 5, 6 days earlier. How many times have we seen that happen?
Yeah, I more than I can count. And Tom Contino, look at the icon again because it does show two separate lows. There's a low off the coast of South Carolina at 8 o'clock Monday evening, and there's a second low, the low that's east of Atlantic City, south of Montauk. Okay, which is the stronger of the two. But again, it has the same idea. It has a little bit more of a developed low, and it's a little bit more north and west of where the European is. But it has the same idea that the European has. But there are two lows there. I'll mark them for you so you can see that here's one and here's the other. Okay, whatever. If we were going to get a powerhouse nor'easter, okay, I'm just going to roll this
We don't
back.
have map. And if you're showing maps, Joe, we don't have maps up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I've been switching cameras left and right. So here's the icon. All right. So again, if this were going to be a powerhouse storm, that whole trough would have to line up to our west down the Appalachians, and then the low that you see there off the South Carolina Georgia coast would come straight up, but it doesn't do that. It basically just stalls out there south of Wilmington, and the warm front just kind of pivots northwestward, and you get a second low that develops. So there you go. So you got here's your first low, there's your second low. Okay, so there are two lows. All right, and that's no, that doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. I think I've probably at the state of the way the models are, and I cannot imagine that the upper air is going to models are going to go radically back in the other direction with the upper air because if they do, I will literally shave my head in agony. But based on what I've been looking at today, and certainly what I've been looking at late this afternoon and this evening, at worst, this is going to be a moderate event with minor inconveniences, not too much in the way of impacts other than coastal flooding. As far as big rainfall amounts of several inches or more, I don't I can't see it. Maybe southeastern New England, maybe eastern Long Island gets into some heavier rain bands, but as far as places like in New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania go, I'm thinking no. And the gradient gets tight, but it's not like how it was showing. So there you have it. Now, in the why did they bother to do this department? In case you slept through this today, if you remember last night, I was chiding the Hurricane Center because of their attention being given to something up at like 45 degrees north and 30 degrees west. Well, that became tropical storm, actually subtropical storm Karen this morning, and it's now post-tropical. Okay, so they basically got a name out of the way, and that's it. So, what's the L name? Do you know, Joe?
No, I don't.
Okay, just as well. I was just curious. I,
Obviously, it has to be a male name, but I don't. I don't have the list in front of me.
Lorenzo? Leon, says Leon of Lindenhurst. Is it Leon? Is the next name Leon? I don't know.
I
Yes,
no.
and the thing is, the water temperatures up there are like under 70. Oh, it is Lorenzo. No, Bobby Livingsworth says maybe it's Leonardo, but Rich Rothmansky, who is seldom wrong, if ever wrong, it's Lorenzo. And yes, if Karen had been a hurricane that would have threatened the land, could you imagine the memes that would have come out of that? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear
All
me.
right. So look, folks. Bottom line, at least from my standpoint, um, and from how I'm looking at this, this does not appear to be a big issue. Okay. I'll leave the door open that maybe we see a stronger coastal low or something that's more tucked into the coast, tucked in underneath the big high with the gradient. I'll leave that door open. But, as far as this being a state of emergency event, I mean, I don't do that. I mean, it's not my job. I don't want to criticize. It's better to criticize somebody after the fact.
Well, the governor of New Jersey has been shell shocked ever since November 15th, 2018. That was the
Right.
storm, if you remember, that produced an unexpected, 6, 8, 10 inches of snow during the afternoon drive, afternoon rush hour. People spend many hours trying to get home. And after that particular scenario, ever since, he's been issuing state of emergencies or potential, things along those lines whenever we had any kind of even the slightest chance of any kind of a major storm. Because I guess he doesn't
Well,
want to get caught again like he did in 2018.
no, and the thing is, they're all in a race to do it. Well, a couple of things. They're in a race to do it as early as they can get away with. Okay, so put the state of emergency up 2 days before the first raindrop falls. And now, obviously, we've seen some changes over the course of those 2 days with regards to how this forecast is evolving. So there's that. And you look at the state of New Jersey. I mean, if you're going to do it, the place that would probably would be getting the biggest impact from this would be the shore. Okay, so maybe just kind of like talk about the shore. But if you're inland, I mean, you don't have to worry about coastal flooding in Trenton. You don't have to worry about coastal flooding in northwest New Jersey. If that's going to be if that's going to be the primary impact, is coastal flooding and maybe some gusty winds. Okay, talk about the Jersey Shore. Maybe everybody east of from the Garden State Parkway eastward pay attention, but to put the whole state under a state of emergency is a bit much as far as I'm concerned. But then again, I sit here in the mountains in North Georgia, doing the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast every Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around and we add shows like we did tonight. And then we're going to add a show tomorrow and add a show Sunday morning. But anyhow, I think we
And
pretty.
Tom Contino has been periodically on the chat board taking shots at forecasters, and one particular forecaster, he's saying, well, he went for 30 to 5 to 60 mile per hour winds, 1 to 3 inches of rain. Let me just say, Tom, based upon the data we were looking at, and we had Bill Goodman here last night, and we were, by the way, your name came up after the show. Like, who didn't show up? Tom Contino. If you were watching our show yesterday, the three of us were saying, yeah, there certainly is reason to go for those kind of numbers. There certainly is a reason for going for the wins and whatever like that. So it's not just one forecaster. It was the lot of us. And yeah, it has been. This is not an easy game. Let's put it that way. I mean, the two of us, Joe and I, we've been doing this now for decades, and stuff like this happens. And I think we should pride ourselves in the fact that when we see things going in a different direction, we get on and we tell people about it, and we're advising you about this now, as opposed to maybe the old days where the event was actually here. And, oh, gee, it's not working out the way we thought it would. Yeah, this is, it's difficult to try to ferret through the models. I will say again, and I'm not trying to make this political, but it is true that we have lost a percentage of our radiosonde observations because of budget cuts from the beginning of this year, and that certainly could play a role in why the models are not as accurate as they were. I remember, in fact, our friend DT, Dave Tolerus, doing a statistical look at the way the GFS was performing now as opposed to before the cuts, and how everything was in the red and going down or whatever like that. This is not an easy job. This is not an easy job, and you do your best. You look at all the information. You try to use your empiricism, your credibility, your knowledge to put out a decent forecast. And when things don't work out, the best thing that you can do is A, apologize, B, try to change the forecast as quickly as possible toward what you believe will be a better outlook or a more accurate outlook. So the fact that a certain individual is said yesterday or even this morning, 1 to 3 inches of rain and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that probably was in that forecaster's mind the best option. I'm sure now that forecaster is looking at the European and like what's going on here? And now we're going to have to take a look at, as I said, the models tonight, and by tomorrow at our 11 o'clock show, I think we'll have a much better handle, a much better idea as to what ultimately is going to happen out of this particular thing. The one thing I will say is I thought from the beginning, the fact, and I know, and Joe knows, these TV weathercasters, they go into these meetings called by the executive producer and the news director, and they say, what's going on? And immediately, if they hear something like a possible nor'easter or a possible coastal storm, they are told, well, let's play this up because we need the ratings. That is the name of the television game.
All right.
And I know that, and the forecasters themselves don't want to do that, but if your boss, the guy who's signing your check, says this is what we got to do, you do it begrudgingly. You do it. There's some.
Well, some of us older folks would never have tolerated the way that all went, and that's why we're not there, and I'm glad we're not there. And the young kids don't really know. The young kids doing it, or they're just in love with the fact that they're on TV. So they're gonna do what they need to do to keep their paycheck, and I totally get that.
And sometimes, and Joe, you and I, we went through this when we were working together at FiOS. You go into that meeting and you tell them about, there could be severe thunderstorms coming very soon, and we're watching it and everything.
Yeah.
And the hierarchy will say, all right, thank you very much. Let's go on to.
And then when it happens, they come out and yell at you. Why weren't we told?
Why weren't we told about this?
To me, that was one of the most hilarious things that ever happened, because it just really exemplified the stupidity of management.
And Addison Green, who was working with us, I mean, he's a young guy. He's like half our age, and he's just getting into he's been around for 5 or 6 years. But we've seen this, you and I, over and over and over again with news hierarchies. And so when this one person came screaming, "Why weren't I told about this, you people?" and he starts pointing at us, like that, I'm looking at Addison and saying, you know, don't say anything, don't argue, just let the storm roll on by or roll on through.
Exactly.
That's what you got to do. And you're right, Joe. We don't have to deal with that anymore. The only thing I can say, and I'll throw it back to you and to everybody on the chat board, is we're doing our best. We're trying our best with what we have to work with. And things sometimes don't work out the way we think they're going to. Sometimes things change. And this certainly is one of those cases. And all I could tell you is, we'll look at it tonight. We'll look at it tomorrow. We'll be on tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And if we have a different idea or different handle as what we've been talking about tonight or what we've been talking about the last few days, we will be the first to tell you.
Yeah.
That's all I can.
Well, look, everybody's kind of aware of all of this, okay? I guarantee you, Joe, that no one, I mean, I was, scouring social media before the show, and I mean, all I saw were the posts of gloom and doom. No one's going to no one is going to honestly back off of any of this tonight, okay? You'll start to see it during the day tomorrow, perhaps. It doesn't look, it looks like now everything is shifting, this way. It's trending, it's this, it's that, and the other thing. When you ask them, well, why is it doing that? They couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell you. They don't understand what's going on, in terms of what's really happening in the atmosphere and why something like that happens. And that's, we at least have this wonderful platform here where we could really get into things and show up our air maps and, really dissect the weather from top to bottom. All I know is that thank God this is not a system in January where everybody'd be sitting around with the winter storm watch, because if it had been, talk about standing on the edge of the cliff, ready to die, ready to jump off. This is what they would be. The snow lovers would all be doing.
You get this new information, and you run into the news director's office or the executive producer and say things are not the way we thought earlier. New data is, and meantime, they'll look at you and say, "Wait a minute! I got this reporter ready to stand in front of the giant stall piles at the sanitation department. I got this guy on Route 34 reporting on the first snow flurries. I got this person here and that. Now you're telling me we're not going to get what was supposed to."
Yeah. Can AI take over weather forecasting? Well, since they probably...
We already got the European. We already got the AI right. European.
Well, version. I mean, and in terms of delivering the information, I'm sure AI can come up with two people far better looking than Joe and I to do it. So there's that. Eventually, maybe that's what they'll have. They'll just have AI-generated newscasters that aren't really real people. So this is the way the world is going. So we're just hanging on for as long as we could still have fun here, because when it stops being fun, that's when we will cease to be here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around.
In fact, since AI was brought up, let me just bring up here on my screen, sharing on my screen here, the European
By the way,
AI.
Hang on 1 second. You would think by now we would have gotten 100 likes. We have 95. Thank you, Steve LaPointe. So can 5 people give us 100 likes so then Joe can do his thing, and then it's going to be past 8:30, and I can go to bed. I can go have a glass of wine, smoke a cigar, and then go to bed. So if you like the show tonight, folks, hit the like button. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, this is the again, this is the AI version of the European model. So let's see what they do. This is 0Z Sunday. This is 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and you can see that they do have precipitation, a spot of precip here over parts of the tri-state area and up into western New York. The main batch, of course, is down here. Here's the low, the coastal low. So let's move things along now. This is 12Z Sunday. This is 8 a.m. on Sunday. The precip is practically at the doorstep of New York City and is entering Long Island and north central New Jersey. Here we have precipitation now into New York. But again, notice a lot of the heavier stuff stays off to the south and to the east. And as we move things along further, it seems that the heavy stuff is pivoting now. Look, look at this, Joe. The low is still down here off of the outer banks of North Carolina as of 2 a.m. on Monday. And then it finally emerges and starts to move north and east. Now, Monday, we have some heavier precip moving into our area from the east. And then it kind of, breaks up a little bit. And the storm just like it does that little, that, what can you say? That
Counterclockwise.
yeah, that little dozy do out in the ocean south of New York, south and east of New York City, and then it just kind of moves out and away again. I don't think the AI version has the FGEN. No, they don't have the FGEN. So
No, it's very smooth. It's very smoothed out. When you look
yes,
at the map, it's very smoothed out. So which leads you to be a bit suspicious. Now it does have 2 inches of rain along coastal New Jersey. It's got 2 to 3 inch. I'm not going to put the map up, but it's got 2 to 3 inches of rain over Long Island, and about 3 to 4 over southeastern New England, and that's just about it. You can ring the bell
now
now, Joe. Apparently, we went over a
I see
hundred.
people are asking for the bell. Our third consecutive night, of 100 or more. So there you go.
That works. And hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it here. So I'm gonna the camera here. I'm just gonna move this at the moment. See if so. That's me. Because David Scott was asking where JJ is, and you can see where JJ is. And he actually lifted his head up because he was asleep. He sleeps every time. My dog, when it's time to do the show, I come into the bedroom. He follows me, and then he goes to sleep every night and doesn't move. Does not move. And if you knew the kind of dog he is, I mean, very much a high energy Aussie border collie mix. For him to keep still for a long period of time is very difficult during the day. At night, he's a little more tired, but he comes in with me every night when we do the show and just lays down and he's nice and quiet. When I had my cat, Joe, remember, I don't know if you remember if he did it when you were on, but when I had my cat, when I would do the show, I would be I'd be in my dining room. This was, years ago. And when I started the show, I would hear running because the cat would come running from wherever he was, and he'd come running down the stairs, run to the dining room table, jump onto the table, and begin walking across my computer, just going back and forth while I was doing the show. I mean, I don't know how he knew that the camera was on and he wanted to be a movie star. I don't know. But that was animals do very strange things sometimes. Or at least we think they're strange, but it's perfectly natural for them. Oh well, anyway, uh enough. I think we can say goodnight and we're kind of holding off on Briller Jeopardy until this whole, thing blows over. So we'll bring it back probably early, on Monday. But in the meantime, everybody have a great night. Thanks for the 100 plus likes. I didn't see anybody hit the tip jar, but that's okay. There's always tomorrow, folks, to hit the tip jar. And we'll be
Where's
back.
quiet? Where's Quiet John when you need him?
Yes. So tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. It's going to be short show, like 30 minutes tops. Sunday morning. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, if it does look like tomorrow morning, if it looks like tomorrow morning that this is going to be a big, nothing, we'll cancel the Sunday show. But for now, We're going to do tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, and then Sunday evening at 7:30, which is our usual 7:35, which is our usual time. So everybody have a great night and a good weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.